Welcome to this week's Aiding Your Game. This week we're going to talk about customizing some of the monsters out of the monster manual. We're going to start with the basics and build up from there. Let's bite into it. Now, before we start the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button to help us grow. If you don't mind the notifications, be sure to ding that bell. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy our content. Leave a comment down below of content you'd like to see us cover on our channel. Now, there are so many guides out there with a lot of iterations on different monsters and variants and everything from Volos to Mordenkainens, as well as UA content and D&D Beyond. So much wealth of different monsters that you can use to challenge your players. But oftentimes, it's easy to overlook starting back with the basics or going back to the basics. So today in this video, I want to use 3 monsters that I'm going to pick at random and give some ideas on how I would change them to challenge my player characters. Now, I'm doing this all on the fly, and I don't know which direction things are going to go. I'm going to come up just with a couple of different scenarios so we can look at things from different angles and really just kind of spitball some ideas. These may be ones that I end up using. I hope they're ones that you can use, but in the worst case scenario, I hope they give you some creative ideas on how you can adjust monsters based on basic monster stats to suit your campaigns and challenge your players further. So just using a regular monster manual, I'm going to just flip it open to a page and see what monsters we have. Now in this one, I'm going to assume that we're going to have first tier adventuring party with a common mix. Let's say we've got 4 to 6 players, and those 4 to 6 players cover general classes, a barbarian or fighter, some type of melee. We've got something range, maybe a couple of magic and a heal. So it could be all different kinds of things. We've got to think critically on, as we're building encounters with this foe, how we can best utilize this foe to put a challenge up for all player character types. So I've turned up to a doppelganger. So a doppelganger challenge rating 3, so you want to make sure to look at your CR levels versus your party makeup. We cover that in different videos. Make sure to check those out. Now, with the doppelgangers, of course, one of the biggest things is they assume different appearances so that they can basically live life and gain treasure and really assume the thoughts and personalities of another without having to earn it or work for it. So if we're utilizing a doppelganger as a villain in one of our sessions, how can we customize it and make it challenging for all of the players? Of course, this one was kind of easy because it starts out with a read thoughts that is a action. So it kind of can already assume or quickly learn the player's intentions or the character's intentions, as well as their kind of combat tactics or any type of information that they may have in regards to the doppelganger. So just making some assumptions, we'll say that the doppelganger has assumed the appearance and assumed the life of a wealthy merchant who previously has hired the heroes, and the heroes are coming to maybe get a new position or renegotiate their contract, whatever the case may be. The doppelganger to have a challenge for a party as a whole. We know they don't have a very high armor class. We know they're not really the best fighters. They're more about subterfuge and sneaking and really surprise elements. But to change that, what if instead of just being a merchant, the doppelganger is one of the merchant's guards? That automatically gives them opportunity to have a higher armor class so they can go toe-to-toe with your melee characters. They're going to be harder to hit by having armor, by assuming a different type of front than what their basic stat block gives. Additionally, they're going to have weapons, so they know how to use the weapons from assuming that guard's life, reading their thoughts and assuming their life, they're going to be better equipped to use weapons. So right off the bat, we can already assume that they're going to have a better attack. They're going to have weapons that they can attack with. They do have a multi-attack, so they can attack twice. By giving them better weapon, they're going to be able to go toe-to-toe. And now looking at the CR rating of a 3, generally there aren't very many powerful magic weapons, but what if they also had something to protect them from some type of ranged combat? Maybe they have some type of bracers or a shield that is going to allow them to keep the ranged attacks at bay. Also with magic, if they're toe-to-toe with that fighter or those melee characters, they're going to kind of warrant any magic ranged attacks not to take place unless it's something that's a little bit lighter, like magic missile, that has no way of hitting the ally. And positioning is going to be very important to them because they'll kind of want to position themselves well to negate some of the ranged attacks and some of the magic and take on that melee character from the get-go. It gives them a little bit more agency to act in that component, in that type of class makeup. So already we've taken that basic stat block and changed it a little bit, given them some armor, given them some weapons, made them a little bit tougher for a party to encounter. Let's change the page and see what else we get. Hill Giant. So this is giants in all, but any of the giants that we look at, the first one on that page was Hill Giant, so that's what we're going to stick with. So for a Hill Giant, definitely not super hard to hit. They don't wear a lot of armor. Super strong, pretty slow, and not very smart. Again, from my experience, I've seen a lot of hill giants or giants in general. It's all about the melee. How can people get up and close to keep them busy, keep their strikes busy, while further back the rangers or the range combatants take them out from a distance. So you're going to find party members who want to get up close and personal. If they have high AC and a lot of hit points, they're going to want to get right up with it and just start hack away, while ranged people go back and kind of plink from a distance to wear them down, get their hit points lowered, and then take them out. Changing that up, what if instead this hill giant is not quite as inept as a regular hill giant? Maybe they've drank something that had some type of potion of intellect dipped into it, or something where they're a little bit more intelligent than just a regular hill giant stat. I would say one of the things that I would do is I would increase not only their intelligence but their wisdom as well, and then I'd use them dynamically in the game. They have a base speed of 40. Can you imagine a hill giant using their movement to move up to the ranged ones who are plinking from a distance and taking their attacks there? That could be a great way to negate some of the melee combatants who may be dwarves with, a much slower speed of 25. They'll have to use their action and movement to be able to dash, to be able to take on again this giant, only for them to move. Now, of course, there are things like opportunity attacks which could negate this, but just thinking about a hill giant instead of this slow lumbering thing that tries to hit hard but is kind of inept, making them a little bit more intelligent and utilizing them dynamically in a battlefield could be great. Also, changing up their weapons could be good. They generally use rocks to throw and great clubs, but if they're a little more intelligent, why not give them something like a spear or a bow that they're able to shoot spear-like option weapons? That could be a dynamic play for really changing up when your players expect to take on a regular hill giant. Changing it up and having this hill giant be smart and tactically sound could throw them for a loop. Really make them think differently about how they approach the combat and really have to come up with creative ways to take this combat on. Let's do one more. I'm going to go at random. I came close, so that was also golems. I'm going to change it up again. Here we go, a were-tiger or werewolf. Let's say lycanthropy in general. I can tell you in a recent campaign, we had lycanthropy be a part of one of the kind of combatants. A queen were-tiger was kind of set up and established, and one of the players actually contracted lycanthropy while they were battling that lycanthrope. Where lycanthropy as a whole can be kind of challenging, I tend to go back to some of the basic things where a lot of the lycanthropy, it is a curse that acts like a disease. So it's an actual curse and not a disease. And it is triggered by phases of the moon. So I try to utilize the were creatures, specifically the beasts are the mindless raging things, while I want the players not just to combat that, I want them to face the aspect of it. So in this aspect, I try to utilize more tragic figures, NPCs who the players are going to bond connections with and really come to trust and love and understand and get emotional invested too, before they find out that that character suffers from lycanthropy. That way it's not just about defeating the beast, it's about saving the individual. Putting some dynamic spin on it can be great. To change up any type of a combat or anything, again, I make it to where they don't figure out who the beast is at first, if I can help it. How I would want to change it is really introduce them to an NPC or something that is able to make those connections and make those bonds with them, and then slowly reveal the beast. I would not have them just have to go up and fight a werewolf. I've seen that used in video games before, where the werewolf is something that they have to go and they don't have a whole lot of information about the actual person who's suffering from lycanthropy. I would make this more challenging by putting the NPC who's suffering from lycanthropy be someone who matters to the PCs. That way it's not just about battling, finding silver weapons and hacking it down and really coming to terms with destroying the beast, but actually saving the NPC, saving the person who suffers from lycanthropy. Now, because we've had a couple of odd ones with the doppelganger and the lycanthropy, I'm going to do one more just for fun. I'm not going to go as deep. And this one is dragons. An ancient brass dragon, or adult or young brass dragons. So dragons are challenging, high CR rating. This one here is interesting though, because we went to, instead of a chromatic dragon, brass dragons generally are considered good. So how would I put a brass dragon against the parties or utilize it to spur the parties up, change it up? I think maybe I would have it. I've actually done this in a recent campaign where a brass dragon was actually an ally looking for additional support in reclaiming part of its lost territory. They had lost a great deal, and they quickly found out that the party could be a benefit to them. So they actually were giving some opportunity for the dragon to be almost a patron for the party. If we really want to twist it on its head though, imagine a young brass dragon that has gone through a feeble mind spell and does not know who it is or what it is. It may be acting on instinct. One of the things of feeble mind is you're still going to function, you're still going to do what you need to do to survive. You just have a feeble mind. So maybe one thing I would do is take that young brass dragon and blend it a bit with a white dragon, which is the most bestial. By utilizing that kind of bestial thought, a brass dragon could be something the party members, the players, never thought they would encounter as an opponent. This again goes into that moral dilemma of, are they going to attempt to save the brass dragon? Will they know that in a set amount of time the feeble mind may wear off? Or will they just have to destroy a brass dragon. With that kind of opportunity to change out from one stat block, making some adjustments in intelligence and possibly wisdom, I would keep the other stats the same and have it go on a rampage to really throw out and throw for a loop the characters as well as the players. Your players may be well versed in which dragons are good and which are evil. Having something really thrown on its head is going to throw them for a loop and could lead to some great opportunity for in-game RP. So basic stat blocks, turn them on their head, think about them a little more critically, utilize changes and opportunities to make something that's common become uncommon. That's going to give you more agency in your world, allow you to challenge your players and the player characters in new and exciting ways, as well as give you an edge in making sure that your players are not metagaming and the characters are having fantastic, epic stories that are the stuff of song and legend in your game world. I hope you enjoyed that video. Here's a link to another video that you may enjoy. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button to help us grow. If you'd like to support us, make sure you check out the description of the video with some links and leave a comment to let us know where will your adventures take you.